In 2020, Nickelodeon was getting ready to air a new SpongeBob SquarePants episode called Kwarantined Krab. It was supposed to be just another funny story in the long-running cartoon. But then the world changed. Suddenly, everyone was living through lockdowns, masks, and fear of infection. The timing couldn't have been worse. The episode's plot was simple. A health inspector arrives at the Krusty Krab and announces that someone inside may be infected with the clam flu. Within minutes, the restaurant is put under quarantine. Mr. Krab panics about losing money, and everyone turns on each other, suspecting who the infected one might be. Normally, this would be the kind of absurd chaos SpongeBob is known for. But to viewers living through an actual pandemic, the idea of lockdowns and infections wasn't funny anymore. Nickelodeon quietly pulled the episode before its release, saying it was being withheld due to sensitivities surrounding recent world events. In this episode, the girls face a mysterious gnome who promises peace in exchange for their powers. It's beautifully animated, full of rock opera music, symbolic imagery, and trippy visuals. But when Cartoon Network executives saw it, they got nervous. The episode features scenes that seem loaded with religious symbolism. At one point, the gnome stands atop a hill with beams of light behind him, looking similar to depictions of Jesus. Combine that with the lyrics about salvation, peace, and sacrifice, and suddenly, this cute superhero show looked like it was flirting with religion. Cartoon Network decided not to air it in the United States. They said the visuals could be interpreted as religious references, which might offend some viewers. Another concern came from flashing sequences that could trigger photosensitive reactions. Few banned cartoons are as infamous as Dexter's rude removal. The story is classic Dexter. Annoyed at his sister Didi's bad manners, Dexter builds a rude removal machine to remove her rudeness. But the invention malfunctions, splitting both Dexter and Didi into two versions. One polite, one horribly rude. The rude clones speak with heavy accents, shout insults, and most shocking for a kids show, curse constantly.
Little Collie beats the out of me! Off! Oh dear! Yeah, here's your apology.
Yeah, it's lunchtime!
Lunchtime, I'm starving!
Cartoon Network decided this was too much. The episode was never aired publicly for years. It was rumored to exist, but never confirmed. People speculated widely, wondering if it had been destroyed or locked away forever. In 2013, Adult Swim finally released it online as a lost gem. By then, Dexter's Laboratory was long off the air, and fans could appreciate it for what it was. It wasn't banned for violence or controversy, but for humor that was simply too mature for its target audience. Gargoyles, Deadly Force. Gargoyles was never an ordinary cartoon. It was dark, serious, and surprisingly adult for a Disney show. But Deadly Force took the tone to an extreme that made networks uneasy. In this episode, Broadway, one of the gargoyles, accidentally shoots his human friend Elisa while playing with her gun. Elisa collapses, blood pools on the floor, and Broadway is consumed by guilt. He spends the rest of the episode trying to make things right, confronting a criminal, and learning about the deadly consequences of carelessness. When it first aired in 1994, audiences were shocked by how real it felt. There was no cartoonish explosion or instant recovery. Elisa's injury was treated seriously, showing her in the hospital connected to machines. It was one of the most responsible portrayals of gun safety ever seen in a kids' cartoon, but Disney worried it might be too much. After a few airings, the episode was pulled from rotation. Later broadcasts zoomed in to hide the blood or skipped the episode entirely. In hindsight, deadly force wasn't banned because it was irresponsible. It was banned because it was too responsible. It dared to treat gun violence seriously in a medium that usually pretended such things didn't exist. The episode taught empathy and accountability, but its realism was simply too raw for the era. Caillou was always meant to be soft, calm, and gentle, the kind of show parents put on to soothe toddlers. That's why the episode Big Brother Caillou stood out so much. The plot is about Caillou adjusting to having a new baby sister, Rosie. At first, he's excited, but as the baby gets more attention, he starts feeling jealous. In moments of frustration, Caillou pinches Rosie's cheek. She cries and the scene lingers uncomfortably long before an adult intervenes. For most adults, that's a realistic moment. Kids get jealous, they act out, they learn. But for a show made specifically for preschoolers, it crossed a line. Parents complained that it encouraged violent behavior. There wasn't enough of a clear lesson afterward, and Caillou never faced real consequences. PBS responded by pulling the episodes from circulation. It was never aired again, and it's rarely included in official releases. Teen Titans Go is known for its loud, random humor and for breaking the fourth wall, but in 2015, an episode called Hot Salad Water stirred unexpected outrage. The episode parodied the British royal family. Starfire becomes obsessed with fancy British manners and tea parties, and the Titans visit a place clearly meant to resemble Buckingham Palace. The exaggerated depictions of British culture, accents, outfits, and jokes about class led to backlash from viewers in the UK. People accused the episode of being disrespectful and stereotyping British people as snobby and weird. The title Hot Salad Water, meant as a joke about tea, also didn't help. Cartoon Network's UK branch decided not to air it, though it continued to play in the US. It's one of those episodes that's less banned for content and more banned for cultural sensitivity. What one country finds funny, another might find offensive. This episode of Mighty Mouse caused one of the strangest controversies in cartoon history. In the Littlest Tramp, Mighty Mouse is seen sniffing a handful of white powder. The creators insisted it was just crushed up flowers, meant to remind him of a kind of deed earlier in the story. But to adult viewers, it looked unmistakably like. Conservative watchdog groups jumped on it, accusing the show of promoting drug use. Headlines spread, patients panicked. Under pressure, CBS pulled the episode and later edited out the entire scene. If there was ever a cartoon that thrived on absurdity, it was Cow and Chicken. But one episode went far enough to make even Cartoon Network nervous. In Buffalo Gals, a group of rough motorcycle riding women called Buffalo Gals burst into Cow and Chicken's house and start chewing on the carpet. That phrase alone raised an eyebrow. Combined with their all-female biker gang image and coded jokes, many adults caught onto what the episode was hinting as a not-so-subtle lesbian stereotype. The show's creators probably intended it as harmless adult humor that will go over kids' heads, but parents caught on quickly. Complaints poured in, accusing the episode of mocking gay women. Cartoon Network removed it from rotation after just one airing. In 2007, a marketing stunt for Aqua Teen Hunger Force turned into a real-world crisis. Cartoon Network placed LED signs shaped like one of the show's characters, the Mooney Knights, around Boston as part of a guerrilla ad campaign. To passerby, the devices looked suspicious, like possible explosives. The city went into full panic mode, bridges were closed, bomb squads were deployed, and the incident became national news. The network quickly apologized, but in the fallout, the planned episode titled Boston was shelved indefinitely. It was supposed to parody the chaos of the marketing stunt, but the network didn't want to reopen wounds. Though Aqua Teen Hunger Force was an adult show, this incident remains one of the few times a cartoon episode was banned, not for its content, but for something that happened in real life. Earther isn't a show you'd expect to have banned episodes, but Room to Ride is one of the few that disappeared. In the episode, Lance Armstrong talks about riding bikes, using bike lanes, and helping the environment. At the time, Armstrong was a hero, the world-famous cyclist who had overcome cancer and won multiple Tour de France titles. But everything changed when Armstrong was exposed for using performance-enhancing drugs. His entire reputation collapsed almost overnight, and networks didn't want his name linked to children's programming anymore. The episode was quietly pulled from reruns, streaming, and syndication. It wasn't banned for anything inappropriate in the story itself. The problem was who it featured. The message about biking and healthy living stayed positive, but the guest star's fall from grace made the episode too controversial to air. Today, Room to Ride remains a lost piece of Earther history, remembered as the episode that got erased because of a scandal no one saw coming.